Welcome into another episode of Believe in Kentucky, part of Believe Podcast Network. My name is Vinny Hardy. Joined here today on a crossover episode by a friend of the podcast. I looked it up. It was the 1st of May when you were on this host of the Hawg Talk, Porter Hayes. Porter, man, how's everything been going with you?
Oh, well, could be better. You know how things are going with this basketball season, which we'll dive in all throughout this segment. But no, everything's going good. I'm ready for this game to be over with. I think from our side of it, from the announcement of Cal, coming, this game was automatically marked on the calendar. Now 1-6 in conference, nobody on our side of the thing seen it coming. Kentucky has all the momentum you got to give yourselves credit. You'll have the chip on your shoulder because no one gave Pope credit when coming into Kentucky. And now look at the job he's doing with the talent you have is remarkable. So you got to tip the cap to Kentucky, Pope, what they've been able to do. And especially, coming off that loss to Vandy, rebounding against Tennessee, now heading into this Arkansas game, it's definitely worrying. Just seeing how Arkansas started off, very worrying, knowing that Kentucky was going to be ready for this game all season long, and Arkansas just not stepping up the plate like they should be starting off.
Yeah, and you talked about Pope, and a lot of us, if we're honest, I had to wrap my head around the Pope hire. I was, you heard all the big flashy names, Hurley and Scott Drew, and Billy Donovan's name comes up. Just it always will because he was an assistant here, and so all those names. And for us, for Kentucky, the track record usually, if you bring somebody in, they've already done a little something before they get to Kentucky. Rick Pitino took Providence to a Final Four. Eddie Sutton at Arkansas had Arkansas in the Final Four before coming to Kentucky. Things of that nature. Tubby Smith took Georgia in '96. They had Syracuse beat, and we beat them in the title game. It took a buzzer beater for Syracuse to beat Tubby in Georgia. So you've done a little something in the tournament. And I said it back then. I was like, I knew Pope was coaching. I knew he was over there at BYU and Utah Valley, but of all the former Cats, there weren't a lot of guys really. Travis Ford has struggled, and bless your heart, John Pelfrey was down there with you guys, and things of that nature. Scott Padgett. None of our guys had really tore it up. So I knew Pope was over there out west, but I wasn't really thinking he was. He hadn't tore it up. Still hadn't won a tournament game. So when he was hired, we all, the record kind of scratches. What? And so I think we pivoted. We had 20,000 at Rupp for the press conference, but those first couple of days, it was kind of like, what in the world? And then we got behind him, and then he's, proven that he's, come in and pressed all the right buttons so far for sure.
Yeah, and it's not really just a Kentucky thing. You look at Jawan Howard, you look at Patrick Ewing, you look at all these foreign players that try to coach, and for the most part, it's hard. And plus, you're filling some big shoes. Kentucky is the job when it comes to college basketball outside of Duke and North Carolina, But for him to come in, and you got to be able to relate to the players. You have to. And for him to take that chip on the shoulder, and the players, these players just, that came to Arkansas, it was like, oh, well, what's Kentucky got left? Cal took all the players. It was the perfect storm for Kentucky this year because you got to look at it. They had nothing to lose coming into the season. Yes, they were still Kentucky, but everybody didn't expect. Look, you look at both ends of the spectrum. Nobody expected Arkansas to be where they were right now. And I don't think people expected Pope to have this team where they are right now. And it's the worst of the best case scenario. But, we were wrong. There's a lot of work that Cal needs to do with this team. A lot of it is, 3-point defense. They were able to do that against Georgia in their win. They didn't. They held them scoreless from the 3-point line. But then OU game, same thing, but they were fouling the 3-point shooter, which led to the late free throws that won the game. Boogie Flan going out. I mean, you got us, that had a little impact, but then you bounce back. And then Adu Theodore steps up and you're like, okay, now they got a leader. Well, he shot the ball 4 times against OU. So that's the head scratchers of who is going to be this leader, who is going to step up for this Razorback team. And we thought we had it at Thero. We thought he was going to be the leader, and we just didn't see that, heading into the OU game. And now when you come to a game like this, going into our Rupp Arena, you're going to have 3 guys that score 15 plus points to have a chance to win this game. You got to eliminate the 3-point shooter. You can't let them go out. And, Arkansas can't be trusted to go out on a lead. I think I want to say 3-4 games this season, they went out to 11-2, 13-2, 15-4 run to start the game. And then it's like they take the foot off the gas. Something happens, you allow teams to come back, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, man, it's 11-2. And then all of a sudden it's 15-14, the other team. So it's going to be a wild game. But it's going to take Arkansas to play a perfect game to win this, because you could throw out the Vandy game. You could throw out the games that Kentucky's lost. I'm looking at how much I feel Kentucky wants to win this game. I compared it on our show the other day. I think Pope and Kentucky want to beat Arkansas in basketball just as much as Drinkowitz wants to beat Arkansas in football. I think that's where it's at. The intensity, because of everything that happened, and you're kicking a dog while it's down. But I'm one of the realists. Everything that's happening with this whole Kentucky-Arkansas rivalry, it's deserved, because we were the ones that were chanting, beating our chest, and thinking, Cal's here, we're going to automatically go to the Final Four, and we're going to beat the brakes off Kentucky. Well, now roles are reversed, and now we're getting the effects of that. And, and we'll see how Cal is perceived. There's been a lot of chatter of, is he going to be booed? And honestly, that your guy Matt Jones over there said it perfectly. I don't typically agree with a lot of what he says, but he said it perfectly in this case. Y'all do what you want, and rightfully so, because y'all were fans. He left for Arkansas. It was the perfect divorce. Kentucky wanted him out. Arkansas wanted him to come. And now we're sitting with what is, the Tyson and the money and the chicken nugget, the Dino Razor Nuggets, and all the stuff that was brought into this. We have to sit here now and take every bit of the criticism that we dished out back when he was hired.
And you said you didn't think it'd be this bad. I didn't either. I mean, there might have been. I remember asking, I think last time we had you on, because it was right before the baseball series, Kentucky and Arkansas, and then of course all the Cal to Arkansas stuff was happening. I remember thinking, Kentucky's polarizing. A lot of you either love Kentucky or hate Kentucky. If they had never lost to a 15 seed before, and then it happens with St. Peter's, so there's people finally, same thing when Duke had their struggles with Bucknell and Lehigh and things of that nature. Virginia loses to UMBC. I remember thinking, there's probably some people in Arkansas that were, hee ha ha when Kentucky loses to St. Peter's and Oakland, and now they're excited to get Cal. I'm like, you were just chuckling a few months ago, and that's fine. But did a lot of people in Arkansas maybe think that, hey, he's changing scenery, he's going to be rejuvenated? It got stale, and the last 4 or 5 years here weren't what the standard is. Were the people thinking that he's going to come in and kind of, recharge his batteries and Fayetteville, new start, that kind of thing?
Absolutely. I think because he had a relationship with Tyson. And when he came to Fayetteville, it was a hate but respect relationship. Yeah. You wanted to beat Cal, but you respected the hell out of him. But he would go out and eat in Fayetteville and just sit there and listen to the booze, but they respected him. Because they knew if he was, and it happened. Nobody knew this hire was going to happen until the buzz. Nobody really was like, okay, whatever. But the same reaction happened when we brought in Bobby Petrino. All the buzz started happening and stuff, but with Cal coming in, they thought Arkansas lives in nostalgia, and you bring back Bobby Petrino because of the nostalgia. You brought in Cal because of what he's done in the past. And in today's college game with the one and done and the transfer portal, okay, he's going to get some talent in here. We can get the NIL money. We can get top talent and make a success out of it. But I don't know what is clicking and what's not clicking with this team. That's what's the confusing part. Is it more money than it is passion? Because in college, you play AAU high school ball, same mirror, same kind of league, three-point shooting, and then NBA. There's a gap when it comes to college. It's a different style of play. You have to, we are seeing a lot more three-pointers, but it's a different game. So with Cal, what he is doing with Arkansas and heading into this game, it's been all the talk, but it just when Kentucky gets beat by Oakland, we were laughing on the inside because we couldn't say that because we didn't even make the tournament. So there's only so much we can do. Yeah, the Vandy lost. We can't do nothing because we're sitting 1-6. So we'll see what happens on Saturday. But again, I'm not confident. I'm at like a 5-10% chance because you never know. But when it comes to the game, I don't. Only because what scares me is I think Kentucky, they're not overlooking Arkansas one bit. And I think they want to, if they can run Cal off the court, I think that's what they want to do.
Are you going to pop up to Lexington for it? Or
No. No, I'm too old for that. I don't know. I'll watch it on TV, but if it gets out of hand, I'll switch it to something else. But no, I'll watch it. Just, of course, everybody's going to tune in. How's the reaction and stuff? But there was a lot of chatter, and I was really surprised about this college game day stuff. I was really, really, really surprised because as on the Arkansas side of the fence, but yet I'm a basketball fan. I've watched college basketball for 30 plus years. The outrage and people really, I understand Cal's coming back to Lexington, but the people that are really talking about Duke, North Carolina, Kentucky, Arkansas, there's no comparison. There's no comparison for the true basketball fan. Where is college game day going to go? Are they going to go to Kentucky welcoming in 1-6 Arkansas in the SEC? Or are they going to go where Cooper Flagg, probably the number one draft pick in the country, is playing in Cameron Indoor Stadium against North Carolina? What's the bigger storyline? And that's where I'm at. I don't understand. There's a lot of Arkansas media. There's a lot of national media. There's a lot of people pointing fingers at Seth Greenberg. But outside of that, I don't see why. Now, I said on our show, if this game was at Chapel Hill, you might have had a case because you're playing at North Carolina. You're playing there. But being at Cameron Indoor, I'm sorry, is one of the most prestigious venues in all of college sports, if not all of sports. I know Rupp Arena is just like Fog Allen Fieldhouse. It's right up there with the best of them, but you can't touch Duke, North Carolina when it comes to that rivalry. You cannot.
Yeah, and it is definitely up there, and they definitely pump it up year after year. You hear about it. It would stand probably without it, but they're not gonna not promote it to death because they've been doing that for years. We've seen all the clips. Dickie V there when he was healthy, and Stackhouse dunking on him, and all the throughout the line. So according to Cooper Flagg, we get him, and deservedly so. He's a great talent. So we're getting him shoved down our throat day in and day out because he's the next guy, first pick in the draft. And so, yeah, they're definitely going to go there. I agree with a lot of people, though. Seth, don't tell us how to feel about don't tell us how to feel about it.
Yeah, you can't tell anybody how to be a fan. You can't.
Or how to be about Cal, and just you and Cal are tight. Don't get prickly because
you can't get personal about it.
Yeah,
you got to be biased. If you want to say that underneath your breath, or if you want to say it off camera, rightfully so. But I hate to go down the rabbit hole, get off subject, but it kind of talks about rivalries. The biggest disappointment for me And what I was most excited about Cal coming to Arkansas was the SEC getting that true, what it used to be, rivalry in college basketball. Because I go back to the Duke North Carolina game. What other game is hyped nationally? What other game is looked at? Okay, they play 2 times a year, but there's not really those games like we see in college football. We're missing that. And now with the emergence of a lot of good teams in the SEC, it might come to that, but we've been missing that. And that's what I was most excited about Cal coming to Arkansas against Kentucky, was it would go back to the days when Nolan was here. And I mean, you had Mashburn and Corliss and I mean, dogging it out, and the best team won. And for this to happen the way it's going right now, I was really disappointed in it, because the SEC is truly, you have a lot of good games, but there's just not that rivalry that it's missing. And I don't know if it's college basketball as a whole, because they've just never really had the rivalries like college football does. Even college baseball has rivalries within the SEC.
Yeah.
But you don't, I don't know, maybe it's me missing the mark, but I just don't have that sense that there is that true SEC basketball rivalry. I mean, maybe Auburn, Alabama, just because they're rivals in every sport, but I miss that type of rivalry. And I think that's what Arkansas and Kentucky could be if Cal gets the right team and the right program. I think it could jump that SEC rivalry to a national level, and you won't have to worry about, are they going to go to Duke, North Carolina, because they're going to start going to Arkansas, Kentucky.
And as you and I both know, when Arkansas first joined the SEC, it was on that level.
Mm-hmm.
And those first 2 or 3 years, regular season, SEC tournament, they were epic. And
Yep.
Arkansas, Nolan left. Arkansas was able to sustain that level. But what you guys were, won it in '94.
Yeah, won in '94. You went to the
title game in '95.
But you got to remember, they went to Final Four in '91, I believe. Because you had Oliver Miller, you had Todd Day, Lee Mayberry. Then you went right into Thurman, Corliss. That span for Arkansas. But you go back even to the '70s when you had the triplets. You had Sidney Moncrief and Ron Brewer. But now where we're at, we hadn't seen that in a long time. And I think as a whole, as a fan base as a whole, they are wanting just something. I put a post out the other day. It said, would a championship in baseball relieve all your agony with what we're feeling as a fan base? And I think they just want to win at something, because if the football team goes down, they're like, well, hey, we got Cal. He's going to be our savior. Well, now you're sitting at 1-6. Well, we got Dave Van Horn. He's going to be our savior. We're going to go to Omaha in baseball. Then if that doesn't, then it just carries over to the next season with football, and it's a revolving door. And we've been doing this for 15 years. Well, yeah, 15, 20 years. Yeah. So it's one of them things, 20 years, if you really, or 15 years, back to 2010 when Bobby Trino, they went to Sugar Bowl in football. But I mean, you had the nice couple years with the Elite Eight runs and the Sweet 16s with Musselman, but that stardom of, I mean, you go back to, I believe, 2021 when Arkansas beat Texas, went to the bowl game, finished 9 wins, then basketball went to the Elite Eight, and then baseball goes to Omaha. That was an exciting time. But you look how quick that can turn on you, and now we're sitting at 2025, and we're missing it. And I think that's what Arkansas wants. That's what Arkansas fans deserve, because they're a very passionate fan base. They just want to win.
Yeah. Got my guy Aaron Gershon from the Cat's Paws backstage. We'll bring him in as well. So what, just the reaction to, as far as the most fans, what's going on, AG?
What's up, guys?
How's it going? How's it going?
How we doing? Just driving back from radio duty. Apologize.
You're all right.
No problem, man. No problem. So what's, as far as the stages of reaction, the stages of grief, how's it hit the fan base? The optimism of Cal coming to the 1-6. Is everybody already sick and tired? Is the honeymoon already over? Or there's still some thinking, well, he can just a little? Where's everybody at as far as the feel and the vibe from what you see from where you sit, Porter?
I really think it goes back what I said a few minutes ago. It's frustration carried over from the football team. But you had so much expectations. I mean, this has been, since they hired Cal. He's going to be the savior. He's going to turn things around. And when the football program is on the verge of, is Sam Pittman going to keep his job? He gets to keep his job. It automatically flips to basketball, and you start off with the Kansas win exhibition, but previous stated, you did the same thing against Purdue. When you really fell 0-2 hole in SEC, you're like, okay, all right, something's wrong here. Then you go 0-3. Then you go 0-4. Boogie Flan's out. You have another injury. You have another setback. You have another what if. They bounce back. They find Thero in the Georgia game. And you're like, okay, we might have something here. Let's build on something leading into the Kentucky game, because I always said that Kentucky game's either going to be a make or break on your season. And this was during the horrible start, because you went on Saturday. You have all the leverage. Nobody gives you a chance to win, and you win. Now you're like, all right, we can hang with Kentucky. We beat them. Let's finish this out, make the tournament, and try to make a run. Let's get this click together. Let's mesh as a team. But, it is panic mode. I don't think it's hot seat, because, it is his first year. You never know with his talent and what he can bring in. You got 2 McDonald's All-Americans coming in next year. So you never know what's going to happen. But it is definitely panic mode, because everybody automatically goes, is Cal past his prime? Or has other coaches caught up to what he's done for the last 15 years with this one and done? And that's why I don't give him any excuses. Everybody's like, this is his first year. He has all these players.
Yep.
No, because you've done this ever since you had John Wall. Before one and done was cool, you were doing it. No excuses, because you're a Hall of Fame coach with 4-star, 5-star guys, and you're not winning in the SEC. That's a problem.
Yeah, I'd argue his second best, probably roster-wise. Obviously, they went to the Elite Eight and they just couldn't hit a shot. But probably their second best team outside of 2015. I guess you could say 2012 probably has to be there because they won it all. But would be his first team here. It was Wall, Boogie. You brought back Patrick Patterson. Who am I missing there, Vinny? Eric Bledsoe. And it's just a different era of college basketball. I'm not. You could use Mark Pope and what he's done at Kentucky as an example, but for objectivity, look at what Pat Kelsey's doing. That program, disaster the last 2 years, absolute disaster. Pat Kelsey goes into the transfer portal, even has a couple freshmen on that roster. They're right there with Duke to win the ACC. It's a different era of college basketball, and I agree with your assessment. It's hard to give too much of a pass to a Hall of Fame head coach who that Arkansas roster, sure. He probably made a big miscalculation only bringing in 9 scholarship guys, but the talent is there. We're talking, 3 or 4 McDonald's All-Americans, 3, I believe, from this past cycle, and then, DJ Wagner was obviously a McDonald's All-American. Adu Thiero has been outstanding. Can't really give him any can't blame it on him, but just the talent is there at Arkansas. It just feels like being undermanned from a scholarship standpoint. Unfortunately, the Janelle Davis and Jonas Nadu, who I thought were great pickups at the time, it hasn't worked out for whatever reason. It's just, I think it's a combination of that. And then the one thing, honestly, I give Cal more of a hard time than anything else is the staff changes, not making any there and not doing anything with the offense. I think those were his biggest issues at Kentucky toward the end, and that's what's kind of bit him there.
I think with, Adu, he's not playing like he was playing last year.
No, not at all.
He reminds me of Udonis Haslem. If you look at his frame and everything, but what is he doing running a point? What is he doing trying to shoot threes? I understand Z, he's a 3-point shooter. So when you have him and Z on the floor at the same time, you're looking at a short roster. Well, then you try to bring in Brazil. Well, if they go guard heavy on you, now you're already down Boogie. You try to run Richmond. You try to run, DJ. You probably John L. They cannot close out a 3-point shooter for nothing. I noticed that, and that's where but that went back to Eric Musselman days. They were horrible on 3-point defense as well. And you think in the game that we're playing today, you would get better at 3-point defense because that's what majority of the teams are shooting now.
Yeah, no question.
And you can't afford to miss. But I think a lot of it had to do with this. All right, we're going to try to stack our team. They're trying to basically pretty much do what Ohio State did in football. We're going to throw all our money at these guys. We're going to bring in 7-8 guys because they don't want to share this bag. And we're just going to gamble. This year was a gamble. Yeah. And you miss on one player, that could throw off your whole rotation because now you look at John L. not playing up to his level. Well, so there's 8. You lost Boogie. There's 7.
Yeah.
So everybody's talking. Who are you going to switch them with? So it's not excuses. It's his own fault, and they got to find a way to. I was telling him before you jumped on, Arkansas needs a leader. They need somebody to step up and take a last shot. Mason Jones, Isaiah Joish, when they have the ball in their hand, they're going to put it in the basket. We don't have that. That's plagued Arkansas for a couple of years now.
Yeah. Yep.
And you can see it. You can see a difference between when you have a guy that when he has the ball in his hand, he's going to score, you're going to Elite Eights. But then you run up against the dogs like UConn and Baylor and Duke and North Carolina. You can't bang with them down low because you got scores. Now you don't have a score. Well, you ain't even making the tournament now. So it's kind of got to be a trade-off.
What do you think it is? John L. Davis is what mystifies me because I've said it on this podcast all the time. My brother goes to FAU. I watched every game of his the last 2 or 3 years at FAU, even before they were a Final Four team. And that's one of the most electric guys I've watched in college basketball. Maybe behind like Reed Shepherd, Rob Dillingham, and a couple others. Like, how mystifying and wacky has it been that guy has just been an almost nothing for Arkansas? It just feels like it's crazy.
The only thing I can point to is just the money. I don't know if they get the money, and I don't know. I'm speculating, so I didn't really watch him last year, so I can't really speak on him personally. But when you come to Arkansas, and anybody who could score, anybody higher D1 can go to any school and produce 10, 15, 16 points a game. That's what's expected. But I think a lot of it is, look, a lot of these kids want the limelight, but they can't handle the criticism. And I know that affects you. I mean, basketball is more mental than it is physical. It goes with shooting. It's muscle memory. It's you go on a shooting slump, you could go 4 or 5 games, go 1 for 6, 1 for 7, 2 for 10, maybe have that 5 for 8 game, but then you're right back in that slump. It is mental.
Yeah.
If it wasn't, everybody'd be a good shooter because everybody can go out there and shoot a basketball.
Yep.
I think a lot of it is he's gotten a slump. He's let social media get to him. He's got the money. He's seeing all this stuff because you can't escape anymore on social media. And it's kind of overwhelming, which granted I would be too, but you want adult money, you want adult responsibilities. So you got to expect the adult criticism. Now I cut that off at going personal attacks. But if I want to come on here and say he's not playing, he's a trash basketball player, we have every right to do that. Because they want money, they wanted to get paid. So now I can't remember who it was, UCLA coach. When he was talking about the they get paid, and then Rick Barnes was saying, "Hey, I pay you to do this."
Oh, I loved when Rick Barnes did that. I loved it.
You have to stand by that.
Yep,
so,
I loved it.
But it's one of the things that it's when you can't really understand what's going on with this basketball team, you're going to find any kind of poke, any kind of straw to grab. Because that's all I really got. I don't know anything that's what nobody knows. So you have to put all those things in a basket and be like, okay, which one is it?
Aaron covered Cal every single day on the beat, all the pressers, all that. So as far as Cal coming to Arkansas, is there the media already kind of getting a little tired of him? Maybe not.
He's doing a pregame press conference tomorrow, Vinny. I got to give him credit. He's doing a pregame press conference tomorrow.
Yeah.
First one as Razorback head coach. So congratulations, Coach Cal, for that.
No, because he's doing his job. The media loves him. That's what I'm saying. The media loves him. I mean, and rightfully so. He knows how to talk to the crowd. And I know he gets compared to that used car salesman, but it's one of the things that the media hasn't turned on him, but you're asking me the pregame topics, and you're talking about Bob Holt. Rest in peace, one of the best to ever do it. He don't have that guy that's going to ask him those tough questions. He don't have the guy that's going to do follow-ups. He's not going to poke the bear. And
didn't he get testy with Bob like early in his time there?
Oh yeah, everybody. Saban's got everybody got testy with Bob because
Bob was
he asked the questions, but that was his job. Mm-hmm. And he even with the Arkansas media, he said, "I'm doing my job."
He was awesome.
And everybody respected him for that. You can't get your your name at the Cotton Bowl and all the Tennessee and all these things where people are paying respects, you can't say nothing bad about the man.
Mhm.
He was a legend. He is what everybody who got into the media does writing. Every writer, even if we do podcasts, you look up to him with respect because you're like, I want to be in that seat someday.
Yep, no question.
And when you have Greg Sankey shout out to him, I mean, he meant the world to everybody because he was just that unique soul. He is a dying breed.
Yeah.
No question.
You know, there's not a lot of those people in media anymore.
Nope.
You see a lot of the writers. The writers aren't the same anymore because they're being forced to write a certain way or talk about a certain way. I mean, it's happening all over the country. But Cal's going to be Cal. And I was telling him before you hopped on, I'm a realist. Let's be real about what Cal wants to do. He makes these promises to get these kids to the NBA. Does he want to win a national championship at Arkansas? Absolutely. Does he? I don't know if y'all want to quote me on this, but does he care if he wins a national championship at Arkansas? I don't think he does.
Well, I go back to it was like
in the NBA and make them money.
Yeah, De'Aaron Fox said it on a podcast 3 years ago. Everyone wanted to ignore him. He said he couldn't care less if we win. That's what he said.
But that's his. Honestly, if you think about
what
it's his job.
Yeah.
It's his job.
It
So,
is.
you know,
I
hate that for Razorback fans. I hate it for Razorback fans because we're holding on to that hope. We just want to win at something. We want to win. We want to hang another banner at something.
Yeah.
But can they win a national championship? Yes, absolutely. But I don't think that is his priority. His priority is getting these guys to the league and making them money.
No question.
Yeah.
And I know it's weird coming from an Arkansas guy saying that, but I'm not true allegiance to Arkansas. I just do a Razorback podcast. So I have the kind of, I don't have the rose-colored glasses on. I've watched college basketball for 30-something years. I can sit here and really honestly call it how I see it. Independent podcast. I'm not affiliated with any kind of radio station or anything like that. There's no, I don't, but I'm not saying anything that not everybody else is thinking.
It's what everyone has been. It matches everything we've been saying on this pod for the 3 years we've been doing it. And I know my counterparts and myself in the Lexington media course have been writing and talking about the last 2 years. That's just where he is. It's always kind of been where he is, but especially now, where when he's towards the end of his coaching career, that's what he cares about most. And again, his job is to take care of his players. You wish you had that more of a balance there.
Yeah, exactly. Just more passion. We get the ho-hum post-game press conferences. And, I want the passion. And we get that from Pittman. We get that from Cal. Dave Van Horn's Dave Van Horn. He can do it the hell he wants. I don't care. He might not ever win a national championship at Arkansas, but he's paid his dues.
No, I agree.
Baseball is such a damn hard sport to win a national championship. I think that is the most underrated thing when it comes to, when you're critiquing coaches and engaging coaches that's the one sport that gets the exception of a national championship because it is so hard to win one.
Yeah, Tennessee's best team under Tony Vitello didn't get to Omaha, so it's hard, man.
Well, you look at the pop fly against Oregon State. You're 1 out away from the championship. So I mean, you're so close.
It's hard,
Arkansas has been plagued with that. You go back to the Stoner fumble. You go against the Reggie Fish, the punt return fumble against Florida. Almost annihilated that whole dynasty that they had at Florida.
Yeah.
And then you had the scoop and score against that Ohio State where you could have scooped and scored against Ohio State and beat them in the Sugar Bowl. That didn't happen. And it's just been something. It's like there's a curse. I don't know what it is, but it just feels like there's a curse on the Razorbacks.
So did Cal call the Hogs, or has he not? I know they were mad at him about that.
And they were mad at him for wearing blue suit.
He's wearing the blue jackets and all. What's all the little traditional stuff? You already getting a headache, Porter.
Well, look, I understand the call on the Hogs because look, I'll say that. Look, if you're going to be a head coach of the Razorbacks, call the Hogs, dude. That's part of it. I mean, that's what we pride in is calling the Hogs. The jacket stuff is just absurd. The only time you can't wear now, if he pulls out a blue jacket Saturday, all right, we're gonna have some problems.
Yes.
But It's just like when John Gruden was wearing a red tie. Everybody thought he was coming to Arkansas. It's like they hold on to these things, but there's a lot of people who do. He was wearing this red tie. He's going to Alabama. But the whole Colin Hawg thing, that has been a problem. I mean, that's been a legit deal. People just haven't been able to wrap their head around why hasn't he? And even on his radio shows, I don't even know if he's done it yet. So we'll see if he ever does it. Maybe he's waiting to win. Maybe he does it. How epic would that be if Arkansas beats Kentucky and he raises his hand the first time he does the hog call is after the Kentucky game? So you might be onto something.
Now, I was just being silly tweeting out why he didn't do that kind of stuff, because our former offensive coordinator, Liam Cohen, who's left us and came back and left us, went down to Jacksonville and became the coach. And if we, their whole Duval thing, let's see if I can. You got to take a couple seconds and get somebody to school you up on putting the right emphasis on the right syllable, right?
I don't know. I didn't even know he was a football coach. I was like, did Jacksonville get a soccer team? I just, you're like, am I watching, it's just, I don't understand why you do things like that. But with Cal not calling the Hogs, I mean, it's one of the things that it should be an irritation, but you shouldn't get too upset. But again, when you're losing, you're 1-6 in the SEC, you're going to find any kind of thing to be pissed. I mean, that's just the way it is. They start winning. They went on Saturday
everything
for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, when it started getting away from Phil Fulmer at Tennessee, his whole thing in press conferences, we're working like heck. We're gonna look at the tape, and they were losing their minds every time they would hear working like heck. It was just great on their nerves because they're going 5-7 and they want him out. And when you're going 10-2 and winning national championships, working like heck, no, whatever, it's no problem.
Well, you could be Ohio State and go 50-10, and they still want your job because you can't beat your rival.
Mm-hmm.
Now look at what happened. How many Ohio State fans are eating crow?
Yeah.
I mean, let's be real. Look at Alabama. I mean, you don't make the college football playoffs, and they're already counting him out year one. You get to a certain level, you have certain expectations, and that's where the Pope thing come in. There was so much expectations at Kentucky that, look, I don't care how big you could have been. Mark Pope's mom, she would have had skepticism, being like, "Hey, I don't know about this Kentucky job because that's some big shoes to fill. It has nothing to do with Cal. It's Kentucky." And there's only a handful of programs in the country that you could say that.
That's true. That is true. So just definitely had to get you on to get y'all's
I appreciate it.
And where everybody's at, and just like I said,
it's a mess right now.
Yeah, and
we're just ready for Saturday to get here, and hopefully they make it competitive win. But I'm just really worried that if this thing gets out of hand, Kentucky is not going to let their foot off the pedal. If they don't boo him before the game, they're going to boo him as they're beating them by 30 as they go off the floor. That's just how much they want to win this game. And that's what I was saying earlier, that's what scares me. You go into a game like this where they want to beat you probably more than you want to beat them. That's a dangerous setting to go into. And on the road in Rupp Arena, they're going to have to play a magical game to win this game on Saturday.
Yeah. A lot of Kentucky fans have just kind of been watching Cal's every move and listening to it a lot. I listen to you and Adam. I listen to Cal's press conferences when y'all are like 0-2, 0-3. Okay, let's see what's going on.
Yeah.
Coverage, y'all part of the Believe Network like us, but just tell everybody where they can find you and when you record and all that stuff about the Hawg Talk.
We go live every Sunday, Thursday, 6:05. Now we've been switching our times around with NFL playoffs, but usually go around 6:05 on Sundays, Thursdays. The Hawg Talk, HAWGTALK. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, wherever, and on our podcast, wherever podcasts be found. We also have live shows. We go live on Instagram and YouTube, so we're everywhere that everybody else is.
Hey, good stuff, man. And Y'all doing a great job, and I always appreciate you taking the time to hop on here. We did a couple crossovers and
Yes, sir.
fun stuff, man. So,
Appreciate it.
Hey, no
Saturday's here. It's
Yep,
February
it's finally
1st
here.
this time, so we'll get through
It's
it.
almost like Christmas time. I'm ready to take that damn Christmas tree down. I'm ready for this game to get over with.
Yeah, let's get it. Let's get it over with. Is right.
Y'all have a good one, fellas.
You too, Porter.
All right,
Appreciate you, man. Porter Hayes, the Hawg Talk, getting a little Arkansas perspective because last time he was on, Kentucky and Arkansas was about to play in baseball, and Calipari just got hired down there. So get him on again. We kind of went out of order because we talked Arkansas first. Big win in Knoxville last night. Beat Tennessee again. So
yeah, and it eerily similar, right? Where not as much to last year's win. I guess last year's win you were the underdog, but Kentucky had more to play for, right? It was the last game of the regular season. There was still some unknowing if Kentucky was going to get a double bye in the SEC tournament. Arkansas, ironically, gave Alabama a real fight down in Tuscaloosa, and if they had won that, Kentucky would have gone into the game also with not much to play for, but Alabama pulled that one out. Kentucky goes in, they win, they're the number 2 seed in the SEC tournament. Obviously, that never mattered, but still, they had more to play for. Tennessee had already won the SEC regular season title by themselves, and it was their senior day for Dalton Connect, and Vescovy is 9th senior day, and all those guys at Tennessee. I mean, Jordan James, some really good players in their history, in all seriousness, and Kentucky went down there and won. But if you remember the game 2 years ago, Kentucky was going into Knoxville having lost a quad 4 game here in Lexington to South Carolina. And I want to say, I forget if it both Cason Wallace and Severe Wheeler, or just, I don't remember if it was one of them or what, were out. And they had a 6'9", very, very, very skinny Adu Thiero running point for much of the afternoon. And they went in. They were unranked. Like I said, they had just lost to South Carolina, and they beat number 5 Tennessee in a total slugfest. I think it was 63-55 or something like that. And you're like, okay, and that team was up and down, whatever. This game was very similar to that, where I'll say this Kentucky team's better than that one, but you don't have a point guard. Kirk Reese has been out since December. Lamont Butler is not playing. Andrew Carr active. He ends up playing 90 seconds. So you're beat to hell. You're playing the best defensive team in the country, and no one's giving you a chance, and rightfully so. I mean, I don't know. You looked at Kentucky Twitter, most of them were just on to Arkansas. And what do? They come out, and they open the game red hot. They really, honestly, they were in control. Outside of the last, they had a debacle at the end of the first half. Honestly, they got away with a debacle at the end of the second half, which we'll get to, but I'd have to go back and look. I feel like they were in the lead for at least 35, 36 minutes in this basketball game. They really controlled it, and they at the beginning of each half jumped out to leads, and just a hell of an effort. I mean, they shot 50% from 3. Other than that, though, they got beat in a lot of statistical categories. The turnover battle went to Tennessee. Tennessee kicked their ass on the glass, 18 offensive rebounds. But at the end of the day, Kentucky made shots, Tennessee missed shots, and Kentucky kind of had a ballsy approach defensively where they're like, look, Tennessee statistically outside of Chaz Lanier, they don't hit threes, so we're going to let them have them. And, Igor Milicic made them pay, but no one else really did. I think, what did they go, 11 for 45? They took 45 threes, and I think I saw a stat out there that 33 of them were uncontested, and then, Mark Pope said in his post-game press conference, they took shots we wanted them to take. So they packed the paint. They made it. Kentucky's been a team that struggled defending the paint. They went all in on guarding the paint, made Tennessee earn them from 3, and they did not. And Tennessee also missed some free throws in this game. I don't know exactly where they finished, but I have to imagine Kentucky's percentage was higher. So gutsy win, 5-1 or 6-1, whatever it is now against top 15 teams, top 25 teams both. They've all been top 15 that they've played. So, I mean, that's probably the gutsiest win of the year for this team, and they needed it. I think I saw a stat somewhere where outside of they haven't had a 3-game losing streak since the dreaded COVID year when they went 9-16. So keep that going as a program and getting a huge win over a rival in their house when no one gave you a shot.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just, and it got to the point, we could just live with it. They kept clanking shots. I'm like, okay, well, that's fine. If you mentioned the rebounds, if Kentucky does get a few more rebounds, it never gets dicey at all.
Yeah, I mean, Lanier's three that cut it to 1 with like 30 seconds was on the 4th attempt. I mean, So look, it wasn't perfect from Kentucky, which how could it have been with all the injuries we just laid out? But a win is a win. It was a win, especially when your backs are against the wall. You're staring down a 3-game losing streak without your point guard, without your starting power forward, without Amari Williams. Shout out to him. He played point guard for most of the second half at 6'11", 7 foot, whatever he is, and finished with 15 and 11, 15 rebounds, 11 points. I should say 11 and 15. Led the team in assists with 4. Was a plus 20. He was awesome. Kobe Brea continues to be the difference. Like, when he's good, they win. I think the stat I pulled was they're either 8 or 9 and 1 this season when he scores 10 or more points, and they're 11 and 4 when he hits multiple threes in a game. I mean, it's just they go as he goes in a big way, and then Jackson Robinson has been steadily playing good basketball since the game in Starkville. Ansley Almanor has been outstanding since the game in Starkville. He's drilling 3 after 3. And then you go down the roster, and Otega Owe just being Mr. Consistent. Then you go down the roster. Your guy, Trent Noem, man. I mean, he shot that 3 from like Harlan County. Like, that was a logo 3 that he hit in a big spot, put him up 11, I think. He also had that really nice play on I forget if it was a missed shot or a loose ball that he came up with 2 games in a row where he's come up with a loose ball. Looked like he was not really involved in the play, and then he goes in and puts it in. And then, even got to give credit to Colin Chandler. Like, he played really good defense in this game. Offensively, he did have 1 nice assist, but you could still see he's not really comfortable yet, which you get. He's already a freshman. He hasn't played in 2 years. But defensively, like we've talked about, maybe the one thing that Mark Pope didn't add to this roster that I would like to see him do this next year is a defensive specialist off the bench. And Colin Chandler kind of out of nowhere played that role for you last night. So, so many different guys contributed to this thing, and that's what's going to have to happen. That's what's going to have to happen for this team as they continue to try to get guys healthy and get guys back in there. I mean, even against Arkansas, like, we know, I know I missed part of your conversation there with Porter, but like, I think Kentucky's going to win on Saturday, but I think Arkansas is going to come in and play really well. I think they're going to come in motivated. I think they're going to hit some shots they probably haven't hit all year. They're gonna play for their head coach, and the guys who are here are going to play with a chip on their shoulder, especially a Duthiero. So I expect them to come in and play one of their better games this season, and Kentucky's going to need multiple guys to counter that. And then they go on the road and play a really, really tough and gritty Ole Miss team in Oxford a week from 6 days from now. So it doesn't get any easier, but I can't say enough about that win last night. That was, I think. Was it the best they've played all year? Absolutely not. Was it their most impressive win out of what's been a lot of impressive ones? I think it is. Probably, maybe Duke is, but given what we know about Duke now, but it's hard not to go with that Tennessee one right there.
Yeah, it was because with Butler being out, I thought that kind of played into their hands. I thought Ziegler would kind of go off a little bit because you don't have Butler on him.
Yeah. And he gave him hell defensively, but he could not. Yeah. He could not hit anything last night.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad he's okay too. I know he got banged up.
Yeah, that was nasty. That hyperextension. So glad that worked out. But definitely gritty, impressive, like you said, and Colin Chandler, because he was able to stay out there even though he didn't score.
Yeah. He gave you 15 minutes.
Yeah. So he's typically missing. He started conversation. He wasn't contributions, and that's especially with everybody hurt. You gotta have guys up and down the roster step up, and that's what they did. So
no question. Yeah, no, it was a team win. Again, I think it was a team win. Kobe Bray is still your X factor there, but they're really, I don't think Brandon Garrison had his best game. Not to pick on him. Travis Perry, he's kind of struggled the last couple games. It's one of those things where, you adjust to the league and they adjust back to you. It's just like baseball, right? Where it's just a chess match. 1 week a guy's hitting the low and in pitch. The next week he can't. They're throwing him away and outside. He can't touch that. And 2 weeks later he's hitting that pitch and then he can't hit the one low and in. So it's similar to that. I think Perry, it's kind of like the league has figured him out again. He's got to kind of reshuffle things. But really everyone else, the other 6 guys that played a lot of minutes in this game were awesome. And they got it done. And again, no one really gave them a shot. And I still, Tennessee, again, they're very similar, right? Where we know they're elite defensively and can beat anyone on any given night because they're so good defensively. I mean, they held Auburn, who's the most efficient offense in college basketball, to 53 points.
Yeah.
But they're still just, the offense is just, last year was their best offense because Dalton Connect was unbelievable, and it's still a crime he fell to number 17 in the draft. But Chaz Lanier is good. He's not that guy. And it's the same thing where you feel like Tennessee's ceiling is a little limited. And, people were – and I was talking about it obviously well before I knew Lamont Butler was going to be out. But I kind of like the way Kentucky matches up with Tennessee this year just because Tennessee's pace is awful. Like, they're 335th in tempo in the country. And if you can get them to run, I think anyone that has some good shooters and has some speedy guards could beat them. So I kind of like even when they come here in 2 weeks, I like the matchup again for Kentucky. It's more the teams like Texas A&M, which Kentucky beat, so credit to them, but more so like the Florida where they could do both, where they can really shoot it and they rebound so physically. Auburn, Duke, honestly, but they caught Duke at the right time, obviously. Like, those type of teams are the ones that worry me, the ones that can do a little bit of everything. But I think Tennessee is a little bit one-dimensional, and Kentucky was able to make enough shots where, even though I don't think Tennessee played awful defensively, I think Kentucky hit some tough shots. Sure, there were some miscommunications and some open looks for the Cats that Kentucky made Tennessee pay for, but I think you got to give a lot. Like, Kobe Bray had a 3 that was absolutely contested with 5:20 left. He had Jackson Robinson had a couple 18-footers that were really, really tough shots. So Amari Williams had some contested finishes at the rim, something he struggled with all year, doing it against the best, defensive front court maybe in college basketball. So, just can't say enough about it, man. I think that's as gritty of a win as they've had so far this season.
Yeah, no doubt. So yeah, definitely looking forward to Saturday and see the vibe and all the people who decide to boo, cheer, whatever it's gonna do. And I think you
and
the
close of that, like, I don't like the discourse that's going on where people are calling people names over their decision. Like, fan how you want to fan, man. Like, the last 4 years were not pretty. And, Porter was saying a lot of the same things we're saying, and they're noticing in year 1 in Arkansas. Like, the fire wasn't there. The priority to win is not there. And, I get that. And, you wanted him to leave, and he did leave, so you give him that. But he didn't go to Ohio State. He didn't go to USC or SMU, who had openings. He went to Arkansas. He went to an SEC team that, is a historic rivalry, years going back to the 90s, where your head coach now was in the thick of that rivalry. So it just, to me, I'll just say this. If I were a fan in the crowd on Saturday, I'd be booing. And then when that day comes, when that name's going to be his name's going to go up in the rafters, I'm there the same way Rick Pitino got his shine at Big Blue Manus, the same way Tubby Smith when he got his banner hung. Like, Cal deserves that one day, and he'll get it. But for right now, given how the last 4 years went, given how some of the things that went on behind the scenes that have been reported, the laziness, and then going to a rival, sorry. Like it's sports at the end of the day. You'll be fine. As Cal said, and he said it like 85 times. He's got bazooka holes. It won't even hit him. He'll be fine.
That's true.
But I will say, I hope the players get an okay reception. Like the student section will do their thing where they'll say suck and they'll treat them as if they're anyone else, and I get that. But Adutiero played his ass off here. The fans got a billboard made for Big Z. DJ, I feel bad for DJ last year because, one, he wasn't healthy, and two, he was kind of in that awkward position where the fans wanted Reed and Rob to start, rightfully so, and that was going to come at DJ's expense, and it wasn't DJ's fault. He just happened to be the guy in that position. So, I hope those three guys get love. They all deserve it. They're good kids. I enjoyed covering all three of them. With Cal, I think it should be fan how you want to fan. If you want to applaud him, go for it. If you want to boo him, go for it. Just don't tell others how to fan. That's my big thing.
Yeah.
And credit to Mark Pope. He was given the chance tonight on radio with Tom Leach to pour water over the fire and tell fans we're going to cheer this guy on. And he said it's a competition. I loved it. That was a good answer by Pope. He obviously was very respectful. Talked about how much he loves them. Coach Cal is a fan of Kentucky. Things Cal's done for him personally, but he said at the end of the day it's a competition. Pope said it better than I could.
Because Cal used to try to do that. Oh, now, stop. We're not.
Right.
He used to try to
let these fans fan how they want to fan.
Exactly. So,
how many times did they hear like, "Oh, you got to be nicer," or "Oh, we got to do this and this"? Like Cal was very much calling some shots of the fans, trying to get them to do certain things the way he wanted to, and I like the fan how you want to fan approach that Pope kind of laid out.
So it would be fun to see the vibe and the energy come Saturday night, and how the whole dynamic is in Rep Arena. Real quick, we both got the vote in Mark Story's Kentucky Sports Trick of the Year, so always cool for that. I think we kind of take different approaches too, and that's the one thing I like about it, because there's so many different ways people vote, and there's no wrong way. I think you just vote for Kentucky only results, right?
Yes, that's how I do. Obviously, Sydney McLaughlin's a legend, but I vote for people who performed in the state. That's just how I've always voted. Like Lamar, you could vote for her. You could vote for Lamar Jackson every year, like if it's going to go that way. So I just try to leave it to those who are performing in our state here.
Mm-hmm. And I kind of change my approach. I try to go with an open mind every year.
Yeah.
Like there's times the ballot will come out and you'll see like Louisville people mad that it wasn't enough Cardinal representation and vice versa. I kind of try to eliminate the red and the blue and just look at who impressed as far as accomplishments.
I had two Louisville Cardinals on my ballot this year. I believe I had two. I might even have three. I'm trying to pull it up real quick.
Busboom Kelly, the volleyball coach, she was just, I think she was 11th for me. I had to knock her
she just left for Nebraska tonight. Yes, I had her 6th.
Wow. She's left? She's leaving?
Yeah, she went to Nebraska, her alma mater. Yep.
Okay, wow. Well, she got Louisville to a Final Four at their home arena. I
had her and Anna DeBeer in my top 10. So there you go, Louisville fans.
Yeah. And so I don't go, I don't go into it saying I'm not going to, vote for Louisville people and stuff like that. This year I did go into it because for me, I was like, it's Sydney McLaughlin. She's already before I even opened it. I knew she was winning. Sure, she's not in Kentucky, but I'm like, she's representing Kentucky for the whole world. She broke her own record 6 times. I'm like, there's the winner. I knew her and Lee Kiefer were going to be on there. So I was like, I'm only looking for 8 spots. And I was like, if Trent Noah's on there, I'm going with my heart. I was like, he's going to be on my ballot. So I was just picking 7 spots this year. Same thing a few years ago. Blair Green was on there. She went to Harlan County as well. I'm like, well, she's on there. So I'm open-minded unless there's like somebody from Harlan County on there. And then I'll kind of make an adjustment for that. But this year, because with it being an Olympic year, like you said, you can vote seed every year. But next year's not an Olympic year, so it won't be as much of a focus. I mean, she'll still be doing her stuff at the Worlds and that this and that, but it gets harder and harder to me every year.
It's hard. It is. I agree.
It's fun, but it's hard. It's fun, but it's hard.
Yeah, a lot of deserving, and again, that's why that's part of the reason too. I limit it because again, like you can vote for Cindy McLaughlin a lot, and she's more than deserving of this award. Don't get me wrong, but she's just in that, like, for me, that Lamar Jackson tier, when Walker Bueller's dealing tier, like those guys can get that vote every year. So again, that's why I narrowed it down, and I kind of flipped a coin between Travis Ferry and Nick McGeown at the top. I went with Travis, but Reed Shepherd, obviously what he did. I usually do pick the Derby winner in my ballot every year, and especially when they're Lexington bred, or Kentucky bred rather. This one, Mystic Dan, happened to be Lexington bred. Then Anna DeVere, Bushman Kelly, Craig Skinner, again winning the SEC, Antonio Reeves, Emma Grome, and Chad Pennington. I think that's a crazy story with Chad Pennington.
Yeah.
Tiny little Thayer, building what he's built there. So those were my things.
That's it. I mean, I can't even peak high. He wins it. If he hadn't state championship, he could have easily gone back to back. So
1,000%.
Yeah, a lot of just amazing accomplishment. The Jack James kid that won the state championship in football and wrestling, in a team sport, you win titles. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, no, I had that one circled. I tried to squeeze them in there. It's there's some crazy, amazing accomplishments, and I'm sure every year there's someone I miss, and I try my best, but like you said, it gets harder. I find myself working longer on the ballot each year. That's
absolutely. Absolutely. The only reason mine was short this year because I kind of had a little preconceived. I already knew Sid was my winner, and I had a feeling Trenton was going to be on there because he had a great Sweet 16 run.
That was another one I struggled. I should have found a spot for him, but I try to give some love to those over at U of L. That was part of it.
Yeah. And if Trent's not on there, Danny Busman Kelly's on my list and stuff like that. But I had a couple preconceived ideas, which I normally don't. So I already had a couple spots filled this year. Next year I'll go wide open and have 10 spots wide open again. But it's always fun and appreciate.
Always fun.
Mark, extending the ballot and letting us participate. Sure. But man, fun episode. Enjoy Saturday night at Rupp Arena. And it's finally February the 1st, and Cal's return is almost here. So everybody check you out at the Cat's Paws and on radio and everywhere, and check us out at believe.com and wherever you get your podcasts. Our link tree, if you follow us on Twitter, you can see the YouTube, the Instagram, the TikTok, all the socials that you can like, subscribe, and follow right there. BLEAV in Kentucky. Follow Aaron, follow myself. Check us out next week, coming to you sometime after the Ole Miss road game in Oxford, and we'll do it all again. Probably get some Super Bowl picks and all that stuff in there as well next week. So
go Chiefs.
Absolutely. You already know. If you listen to this podcast, you already know where Aaron and I are going to be leaning. Newsflash, you already know. Aaron Gershon, this is Benny Hardy. It's been another episode of Believe in Kentucky, and we will catch everybody next time. Y'all stay safe, stay warm, and have a good night.